So I wanted to tell you a story about something that happened at our church some years ago. It was about actually 18 years ago now. Our church was, and this was something which would be an illustration. It happened years after my friend Bob, expressed his concern about the Great Commission. But it would be an illustration of the way the gospel avenues for the gospel can be opened up through pro-life work. 18 years ago, our church, the church that I was talking about, that we started 40 years ago, was picketed by pro-abortion protesters. My youngest daughter, Angie, was then in high school, and she came out with me. She was a teenager then. We were out in our church parking lot, and we heard that they were coming because they were organized on what they were going to do. These pro-abortion people were going to give us a taste of our own medicine. Because we go down to abortion clinics, and we go down to, and we have rallies, and we're one of the churches that was known for doing that sort of thing. So we'll give them, let's see how they feel when we come to them. So hearing they were coming, we set up donuts and coffee, and we had these little stations, and then it was going to be a rainy day, so we had umbrellas out, and we had people opening umbrellas. I stood next to a pro-abortion advocate for over an hour, holding an umbrella over his head, and he's holding a sign. And I want to tell you what the sign said, because it's like, yeah, this is a conscience issue for me, but is anybody going to be convinced by his sign as they're driving out our church? I hope that they see at least the grace that we're extending to people who need Jesus. They need Jesus, but it's a weird position to be in, to be holding an umbrella over somebody who's holding a sign that goes against everything that you believe. But then I've been out there many times, holding the other kind of signs and standing up in different ways without signs for those, who can't speak for themselves. Well, as a result of this, my daughter Angie and I are there, and father and daughter, we're starting to be able to share the gospel with the three groups were Rock for Choice, Radical Women for Choice, and the Lesbian Avengers. And in most parts of the country, I have to say I'm not making this up. A lot of you know these are real groups, or were real groups, but I've been speaking a lot in Dallas, Texas, and they don't, trust me, where the small churches have 10,000 people, and they don't understand what life is but the Pacific Northwest. But my point is, so here it is: Rock for Choice, Radical Women for Choice, and Lesbian Avengers, and there were two of the Lesbian Avengers. Their name, say, not mine. I'm not insulting them. I'm just saying that's what they call themselves. So we're interacting with them, and so what happens? Two guys come over with picket signs and hold them between us. But the two guys were guys from a pro-life street preaching group. And by the way, I believe in street preaching. And people come to Christ through it. But there are people who do it in the right way, in a good way, in a healthy way. And then there are people who literally, as we are sharing the gospel, are sticking signs between us telling these people they're going to hell. We were going to get to how they're going to hell. But could we do it in a context of relationship and love? We're not denying hell. That is part of the picture. Get that. But it's not the whole part of the picture. So anyway, this happens. Well, then what happens the next week is, for the second time in our history as a church, only the second time, we are picketed again. But this time we are not picketed by the pro-abortion people, who really got more coffee and donuts than they bargained for. We were, so many good things came out of that day. But anyway, we were picketed by the street preachers who had been sticking the signs in, and we had asked them, would you mind, could you be over there and just, since this is our church parking lot, is it okay if we kind of get the gospel to these people the way that we would like to? And then you're welcome to do your thing wherever, and God bless you, and good for you, but this isn't the time and the place. So they didn't like that. So next Sunday morning, drove in, And there they were, and we were being picketed by them. We didn't have coffee and donuts that time, but, well, I guess we didn't know they were coming. But, okay, so all of a sudden it hit me, because I was writing my book. One of my books is called The Grace and Truth Paradox. And I was thinking, I think this is actually something to celebrate. Because one Sunday we were being picketed by people hostile to the gospel because we were standing up for truth. And the next weekend we were being picketed by people who thought we were compromising by giving coffee and donuts and having civil conversations with people that needed the gospel. In other words, we were showing too much grace. Too much truth, too much grace. And Gail mentioned my new book, Truth, that's available out there. Actually, it doesn't come out until next week officially. But wow, are we in a time where we need more truth. And in the evangelical community, truth has never been eroding to the degree, to the extent that it's eroding from within as it is right now. And I just encourage you to consider that book and consider the Grace one too, and then the other one, the Grace and Truth Paradox, because we need that all.